Thank you, Mr President. I wish to move a motion to take note of an answer from Senator Birmingham with regard to the EPBC endangered listed species, the Swift Parrot. This afternoon we heard in here, Mr President, that the federal government, the Abbott government, intends to do nothing to stop the logging of the critical nesting habitat of the Swift Parrot in Tasmania. What this demonstrates, Mr President, is that for all the talk we've had over the years about the marvellousness of regional forest agreements in protecting threatened species and conservation outcomes is just hot air, hogwash, rubbish. What we've seen in Tasmania is the Tasmanian government has signed off on logging the habitat of an endangered species, the Swift Parrot, and the federal government intends to do nothing about it, using the excuse that the EPBC Act does not apply. They don't have to look after threatened species if they are in a logging coop, if they're under the regional forest agreement, and this comes at a time when the Commonwealth is keen to roll over the regional forest agreements into the future. So let's not have any pretence that the Abbott government cares in any shape or form about species. All we got in the answers from the minister was, "Oh, we want to make sure we've got jobs in Tasmania." Well, Mr President, as you and I well know, the native forest logging industry in Tasmania is on its knees. There was a rescue that was tried for the native forest industry, but the Abbott government determined it was not going to go down that path. As a result of this appalling logging of 3 coops already out of possible 5 of threatened species habitat, Forestry Tasmania will never get Forest Stewardship Council certification. Never. This is a classic and carefully documented case of where the regional forest agreement, the Tasmanian government, does not protect threatened species, and in particular the expert advice that was provided to the government before it made its decision said, "There is no scientific evidence to support the position that continued harvesting of breeding habitat will support conservation objectives for the species. No scientific evidence to support ongoing logging whatsoever." It also said that in allowing the harvesting of breeding habitat for the species at this site, conservation objectives for the species at the coop and regional scales will not be met. Hence, the conservation management for the species would become ineffective. Now, it is obvious what needs to happen here, and we all know, of course, that this has been through the courts several times because my former colleague, former Senator Bob Brown, took this to the federal court when the threatened species were being absolutely contravening the EPBC Act, were being in areas logged by Forestry Tasmania. The federal court upheld the view that the threatened species were not being cared for consistent with Commonwealth law. That was then appealed, overturned, and the result of that was that now the Commonwealth just washes its hands of threatened species in logging coops. So make no mistake, Mr President, anyone who suggests that the regional forest agreements protect threatened species has got a classic case here where that is absolutely wrong. Not only that, we've got a Commonwealth who says they want to hand back environmental responsibility to the states, and we had that again from Senator Birmingham today. They want to give the Tasmanian government full and total control over our World Heritage areas, over all environmental issues that the Commonwealth previously cared about, including threatened species. And what good would that be when the Tasmanian government has deliberately, absolutely in contravention of its scientific advice, gone ahead and given the go-ahead to logging? Now, that is the Hodgman Liberal government in Tasmania logging the habitat of threatened species, and the Abbott government in Canberra ticking it off. And that is a process that they would support around the country. That's why the regional forest agreements should not be rolled over and they should actually be dumped. But more particularly, we need the Commonwealth to now intervene. They've got a threatened species commissioner. Well, what's he going to do about the Swift Parrot? We want an investigation into what Tasmania has done, into why they are so keen to log the nesting habitat when we've only got 2,500 of the species left on the planet. It is very bad policy, unsustainable. It's environmental vandalism endorsed by the Abbott government.